let's talk to William, talking to us from Arkansas. William, you are live on Truth Wanted. What's up?
Yeah, so I'm sure you read the call screener notes and everything. Basically, I was calling to discuss how sports is basically almost is touted as a way to like get out of poverty, specifically for people of color, often, and how. And actually, extra specifically for Black people, and how that's like almost. I had a friend who I compared this to with him, and I supposedly ruined football with him by comparing it essentially to gladiatorial slave fights.
Okay,
and he agreed. Go ahead.
Whew. It's very spicy. You're making a very spicy claim here. But I guess I'm listening. So basically, in summation, you believe that sports, I guess in general, I guess you mean professional sports. You think the popularization of professional sports
from like high school and then to college specifically as a way to get out of poverty and then go into like professional, even though it's a very small market.
So, in other words, you think that people's personal pursuits of professional sports careers are to their detriment?
Not
overall.
Necessarily their personal pursuits, not their personal pursuits, so much as it is essentially it's popularized as a way to essentially get out of poverty. And by that, I mean like movies and TV shows. There, if you often see like the, I don't want to say hood character because that doesn't sound right, but the stereotypical quote hood in like movies and stuff where there's like a character who's impoverished and lives in a bad area and stuff like that, in a bigger city. Oftentimes, it's depicted they're often depicted in these stories as basically go into sports, become rich and famous, and that seems almost like you don't see many where it's like, hey, go into college for science or go into college for math. And I've actually talked to people about this where people have actually said, yeah, no, I felt like football was my only way to potentially do anything with my life. And I'm like, that shouldn't be it, or sports in general. And I have no problem with people. I would obviously have no problem if people want to go into sports. That's a thing that people should be able to do. It's a very fun and physically, good pursuit. But I do feel like there should be a lot more in promotion of also STEM and other things too.
Okay.
And that it shouldn't almost be pursued in popularity as this is the way you get out of poverty.
Okay. How do you want to take this, MD?
This topic is very odd.
I kind of know the sort of like stereotype that you're talking about. I think that the concern has been raised not just with sports, but with entertainment in general, and people saying that all the say for your example, all the Black people in sort of like elite society are entertainers, athletes, singers, actors, whatever. They're in the business of entertaining people, and there's a sort of there's sort of like a power. There's like a submission. Basically, people are saying, "Oh, Black people are still being suppressed because now they're just the focuses of entertainment for the rich white people," right? That's the thing that I've sort of heard before.
Yeah.
I mean, I get.
It may seem that it seems that way on the outside at the very least. That's
sure.
sort of the narrative that's popularized.
Sure. I mean, I think that this is essentially a marketing issue, maybe. Like, obviously, the people who are doing the entertaining are the ones that people are going to be idolizing for the most part. Like, there's very few people who actually go into science because they saw like Bill Nye the Science Guy or whatever, right? But I think it's a marketing problem, and I think it's the same. You know, why are people not thinking about getting themselves out of poverty by going to business school and becoming a CEO? Like, that's another valid path for anyone to do, and it's probably a problem of marketing, but it's also kind of the bias is on the consumer end, because they're just watching, you know, they're consuming the entertainment, the media, whatever that they want to consume because they like it.
It's a capitalist issue, if anything.
Yeah.
When
Sure.
I at a previous career, I worked in education. I worked through a private tutoring company. I did contract work within a public school system, and I also ran a tutoring center. Okay. If I asked kids what they wanted to be the most growing up, the most common answer was they wanted to be like a YouTuber. Like, they want to be a streamer because, hey, they see these streamers that get gobs and gobs of money, and it doesn't seem that hard compared to, like, I don't know, being a PhD in something, right? And you get to entertain people. Everybody loves you. Why wouldn't you want to do that? This is just an aspect of celebrity culture in general, right? Like, sports is just a subcategory of celebrity culture. People who are really into sports, kids who grow up, they idolize their big sports heroes, and they want to be just like them because they're famous and they get a lot of money, and it seems like a great time. You know, meanwhile, you know, you know, there's the ESPN documentaries that come out about, you know, athletes' financial situations afterwards, and it turns out, you know, a lot of them didn't have great habits and spending and stuff, and then they end up not as much money, right? It's just that is just, I don't know. That's because we pay so much freaking money to a lot of these athletes, and they get on TV so much, and you know, that's just what happens. You become an idolized sports professional. That's a problem of culture, if anything. I don't know if it's a problem with the kids' individual desires. The kids just have, if it's not going to be sports stars, it's going to be YouTubers. It's going to be rock stars. It's going to be whatever, you know?
I mean, what you're talking about is having more people like Neil deGrasse Tyson or Carl Sagan or, like, you know, Bill Nye, people who are purporting, you know, in your example, STEM, but it could be anyone. You just, if you want people to go into that, if you want people to see that as a viable career path, then you just have to, I think, make it consumable to a greater extent than it is right now.
Yeah.
And to be clear, I'm not necessarily saying it's a problem that kids do want to be in sports so much as it is, when you think about, let's say, using movies as kind of an example for popularizing. I have seen movies where, like, insert young person here starts a business, but it's usually, to be honest, it's usually a white main character. I've seen plenty of sports movies where it's someone trying to, you know, get out of poverty and stuff. And I can honestly say that, like, specifically if it's like dealing with football or basketball, it's often seen as a black main character or as a black focused character. And I do feel like there's almost a slight racist thing going on there, because it does seem like, and I'm not saying this is
not that subtle, but it's not a subtle thing.
Yeah.
It's not slight.
No, it's not. Yeah. It's like, black kids, hey, you need to be good at sports. Which
I don't know if they're, I don't know if I would agree that that's the message that the studio or whatever is trying to send. I think that they're using it as a shorthand.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Again, it's demographics, right? It's demographics research, right? When they made Space Jam, right? They were going to get one of the biggest basketball stars ever to be in the next Space Jam, who's going to basically be the next Michael Jordan. And yeah, they're going to target the kids that are going to be the most into basketball culture to make a movie like that. I mean, that's just, That's just marketing. I'm sure there's demographics that show, hey, urban populations tend to be more into sports movies, and people of color tend to live in urban populations. So it happens that way. Again, it's capitalism at that point. You have to fix capitalism if you want to fix this issue, I think, which is why it might be a problem. I think even folks like, even like Neil deGrasse Tyson, for example, I'm willing to bet that man has done more public speaking work than actual scientific work at this point.
Oh yeah,
right? Because it's
he's
just
a
not,
science communicator now.
Yeah,
he's not really an active scientist. I don't think.
Actual science for a lot of times is boring. It's crunching numbers and like working on a word processor, and it's like, it's not like sexy or fun. It's not cool to make a good movie about. Whereas athletes, there's a lot of young hot people doing sports and stuff, and that's what people want to see when they go to a movie. They don't want to see a guy curing I don't know, a rare form of bacterial illness in a lab, because that's just not as entertaining.
In a mouse model.
Yeah, I don't know what to tell you, William.
It's just one of those things. Like I said, I supposedly ruined my friend's idea of football by, according to him, successfully comparing it to slave gladiatorial fights. I'm like, I was not trying to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't. Yeah. But either way, yeah, I guess, curing capitalism ain't going to happen easily, if ever.
Yeah, no, I hear you there.
Yeah.
I don't know if we've reached a consensus or a conclusion here, other than, racial stereotypes are definitely played up in sports movies, in sports advertising and stuff too. I mean, like, I think people are aware of that, and they have a lot of data on that and use that to make money,
and that we want more positive marketing for STEM careers.
Yeah.
Not even STEM, but just like also like business, something else other than.
How about just realistic expectations? Like, not everyone is going to be a professional sports person.
I mean, I'm not even sure if a quarter of all Americans have college. I can't even remember the statistic. It's around a quarter, I think, of Americans have college degrees in general. A pursuit of higher education in general, I think, is fantastic, and that should be what people want to do. But I'm not going to say, hey, kid who happens to be a kid of color who's interested in sports, I'm going to say, don't follow your dreams in becoming a professional sports player because it looks bad or something or whatever. Like, if kids can have their own ambitions with stuff too,
I would be like, have a backup.
Well, I mean, that would be true regardless of, if I knew somebody who said they want to do YouTube full time, for example, I would say that, because it's not, just because,
it is a very fickle thing, but yes, I get that. Anyway, I will let y'all go, let y'all get to other callers. Thank y'all. Sorry if this was just like, I don't know if I even communicated this well.
Did great, William.
Nervous while trying to talk to people.
Don't worry about it, William.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. I think you generated an interesting discussion, to say the least, for sure. And the commenters will tell you if you did something wrong. Just so
they always do.
They always do.
It seemed like there were some commenters being like, hey, or at least on the chat going, hey, racist incoming. And I'm like, no, please don't. I promise I'm not. But anyway.
I got you.
Y'all have a good day.
You too, William. We'll see you later. So yeah, that was did not expect, but that's the beauty of Truth Wanted, MD.
We get them all.
I never know what.
You never know what's coming in the door.
I never know what to expect. I have to have takes on goddamn everything. I got to be ready for anything that comes in the door. It's a chore sometimes, to be honest.
I mean, what we had.